So
good.
mhm.
Okay, so this is a special day for you. I want this just to be a really special time.
I so appreciate you for this. This is all God, and I'm so
Just
humbled, and it's a new beginning, literally.
it is a new beginning. Yeah.
It
Okay. So
Mhm.
first and foremost, good morning
Good morning.
and welcome. Yes.
Thank you.
This is a new beginning. I love that you said that. And it's a celebration
It
of your new
is.
beginning
Man,
because your new
yes,
beginning started 5 years ago,
it
right?
did. Yes.
Wow. 5 years. 5 years of redefining life, 5 years of redreaming and imagining life, 5
Mhm,
years of surviving, healing,
mhm.
5 years of exploring who you are and who you want to become and who you get to be, right? 5 years of walking with the Lord and letting him guide you to what's next and
Yeah.
trying to stay above the line of money you owe and money that you want to make. It's like that.
Literally,
Literally.
yes.
Yeah, I've got
All
like,
of it.
yeah, there's so many pieces to this. So before we dive into anything else, let's talk about really quickly why it's important to you to share your story today. Just without saying what the story is, let's just talk about why it's important to talk about it.
I for me personally,
Yeah.
I've been, um I don't think I've always owned up to what really happened. I think there was like a disassociation.
I think that's
Um,
survival mode right there.
yes.
Yes.
And for me, I feel like it's important to almost give honor to what I've been through. I'm always on to the next thing. That's my personality.
Yeah.
But for me to stop and reflect, it doesn't happen enough. And in reflection, I could thank God, give him the glory, give myself some honor and credit. I feel like for us, I want to say as women, but maybe as humans, we don't give ourselves enough credit sometimes or reflect enough. And so there's something in the stillness of, I'm going to take the time today to talk with Lisa and reflect. It's important for me to slow down, talk about it,
Yeah.
obviously for the lives that it will impact, but more so if it's not impacting my life and my gratitude and my honoring, then what good is it for others? Like I need to acknowledge that for me. And in doing that, bringing God the glory and blessing others.
That's beautiful. You're right. Men or women, we're so prone to consider what's next.
Mhm,
And sometimes actually when we're dealing with a lot of what you're dealing with, we're just in survival mode.
mhm.
All we can do is, what the very next thing is, or the next thing our children need, or the next thing, I need to do to get that bill paid, or the next thing I need to do to keep that house. I
Man.
mean, sometimes it's just that granular. Um,
Mhm.
so I love that now that you're 5 years past your freedom date, if you will.
Yes.
I love that you're taking the time to share your story because we're naive to think that you're the only one who's experienced something like this.
Mhm,
Sadly, in a
mhm,
very broken and fallen world, a lot of people have experienced or maybe currently are.
mhm.
And you might be the encouragement and the lifeline and the story that ignites the desire and the hope that something
Oh,
different is possible.
yes.
Okay. That's a great backdrop to where we're at and why we're here.
Mhm.
So, my sweet friend, the platform is yours. Let's talk about where you were 5 years ago. Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe, where we pour positive back into your day, sharing stories from real people who have made it through some real struggles, but were able to restore their health, hope, and peace. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and as a certified coach, I'm here to guide you to be your best self-advocate, to help you restore your health, ignite your faith, and conquer those fears while you navigate your own healing journey so you can eventually exchange your dis-ease for durability. If you're looking for hope and encouragement to live a life you love, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, but today's episode is all about my friend, Lilla Sanders. I just wanted to pop in quick and tell you how this episode came to be, because today's episode is part 1 and next week will be part 2. Last spring, Lily and I were talking and we were speaking on what was Good Friday. And in our conversation, she said, "Oh, Lisa, tomorrow is my 5-year anniversary of being free." And I said, "Oh my goodness, what are you going to do to celebrate? What are you going to do to mark this momentous occasion?" And she said she didn't know. So I said, "Well, if you have the time and you have the desire, I have a platform and I will make it yours and you can use it to tell your story." And she was so excited about that. So we did. We met the very next day. And this is a 2-hour conversation, but it's really worth listening to. And I really want to dedicate this episode, both episodes, to my sweet friend Lillia for her immense courage and bravery, for her faith, her unwavering love of Jesus Christ, for her dedication as a mom to her 3 beautiful girls. And I want to dedicate this to anybody out there who might be in a situation where they are either in domestic violence or a situation of domestic violence or abuse, or any of you listening who might catch something in this episode that would help you know that one of your friends might be in a domestic abuse or domestic violence situation and isn't at the point where they know how to tell anybody else about it. So we can all help each other by just listening and being sensitive friends, family members, and coworkers and casual acquaintances. We can be listening for those cues that tell us that something's not quite right. So, my sweet friend Lillia, this episode and next one is all for you and your girls. I applaud you and I'm so proud of you. And I know that this is going to encourage others. So thank you so much. I'm humbled and honored to give you a platform to tell your amazing story. So my sweet friend, the platform is yours. Let's talk about where you were. Like, paint the picture for us where you were 5 years ago. What was that day when you finally had an avenue to get free? And then we'll dive into what you were getting free from.
Okay. So 2 days prior, I met with my OBGYN by myself. And based on my situation, I was being tracked. I really couldn't go anywhere by myself. I didn't have a mode of transportation. And 2 days prior, I was by myself. And my OBGYN, she provided an avenue, as you say, for me to get out of my situation. She noticed the signs. She let me use her phone. And she pretty much gave me the safe space to talk and to put a plan to get free.
You had 2 little ones at home. How old were they at the time?
My oldest was 2. My youngest was 10 months at the time.
Okay.
I was due in August and it was March. So
Okay. So you went in for a checkup during that
a
6
regular
month
checkup.
pregnancy. Yep. And your OB noticed, or maybe asked some questions that led her to say, I see something's going on here that I need to intervene on. Praise God that she did that. Okay. Pick us up from there.
Yeah. So this was the first time she had gotten me by myself, but because I was with my partner at the time, she said one thing she noticed. She said I seemed educated, but I couldn't speak. She would ask me something, he would answer for me and things like that. And she said that was a telltale sign for her. So when she got me by herself unintentionally, it was really a God thing. I sat down and she said, "How are you?" Went over my vitals, and I broke down and I started crying and I said, "He's tracking me, he's watching me, his camera's on me," which we'll go into. And it was a God moment of, let me give you the space to find a way to escape.
Wow.
And so she told me to use her office. We were the last ones at the office. My ex actually at the time locked his keys in the car. And that was the only reason why I was able to catch a lift and get there without him. And so I got there, my other two were at home and got to the appointment. And last one, only one there, total safe
Last one
space.
of the day.
Of
Just
the
happened to
day.
be last one of the day.
Happened.
Your ex
but
just
not.
happened to lock his keys
Come
in
on
the
now.
car.
Wow. It's like you cannot make this stuff up. I say this all the time, especially the way God needed to do something kind of practical, but not
Yeah.
to get me out of it, if that makes sense. Like,
Oh.
how do I get this woman by herself?
Yeah.
And with the resources of it, somebody of authority to set something up. So I get there, it's dark, the lights are off. I'm the only one there. I think she waited for me, literally just doing her job. And she said, "How are you doing?" And I started to share my story. I mean, bawled for the first time I could talk about it without being recorded. And God set it up to where my ex at the time knew where I was. It wasn't like I was sneaking off anywhere. So even that, he covered me. And she told me to go use her office so that he couldn't track any calls I was making. And I called my dad and I said, "Daddy, I'm leaving in 2 days." I had a client to meet with the next day. And that's how much I try to honor my business.
Oh.
Made sure I met with them, took care of their payroll. And I knew after that was done, like you said, the next step was to get out, and I had 2 weeks before I would need to serve them again. So that was my thought process. But fear, adrenaline, all of that. But I knew it was God to where I just had to do it, if that makes sense.
Oh.
God had laid it out to where it just wasn't an accident. I knew I needed to get out. I just didn't know how. And what I was feeling was hope, honestly, fear. And if I could just, the next step, it was literally 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time, and knowing that God had me in his hands and he was loving me out of this situation.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you can do in those moments is just take it one step at a time. What kind of work were you doing at the time, Lillia?
I was doing what I do now, which is bookkeeping and accounting. So I would manage clients' business financials, which I do now. And at the time, I was also doing payroll for some clients.
Okay.
So I'd process their payrolls, do their checks,
Got
balance their books,
do
their month end, which is basically making sure everything is in line and properly categorized. And it was flexible. I could do it from home. And if I had to go into the office, I would. But yes, I do professionally, I do financial management for businesses, which is essentially bookkeeping.
Yeah, which was what a beautiful provision that you had that, because you were going to really need that more than you thought.
Man. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. All right. So you left the OBGYN office, but you had made a couple of phone calls. You had kind of made some decisions that you were ready to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
Let's help paint the picture for what was happening at home.
So at home, I was dealing with a partner, ex-husband, who was battling his own demons with addictions, and mental health. And so at home, I have a business, small bookkeeping business. I was also teaching kids through VIP Kid online, which is the online platform. I would do that from like 3 to 7 and then take care of my kids.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
While trying to do the bookkeeping.
Yeah.
On top of that, I was sleep deprived. I would be woken up all hours of the night. He was extremely, extremely paranoid and would hallucinate. And so I'd be sleeping pregnant with babies in the room, very few hours of sleep. And I'd be woken up either with him standing over me staring, like almost growling in a sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, I've been working on getting my sleep back for years now. So constantly being accused. So I'm always in a state of, what is it going to be? And nothing he said would make sense. There's lasers outside. Do you see the gun on the kid's monitor? He would say there's people with guns. Instead of monitoring the kids, he would turn the monitors outside and then take screenshots of things that wasn't there. There's a guy, don't you see his gun? And he would yell at me if I didn't say, yes, I see it. Do you see, he would call the police all the time. Hey, there's somebody in my backyard with lasers. I couldn't talk him down.
Wow.
On top of that, it would turn on me. You're cheating. I know you're cheating. Just constant screaming, being told I was hated, being told I was doing things I wasn't. And therefore he would board the window so I'd be in darkness. Obviously I
Like he
turn on
put
the light.
actual boards on the
Actual boards, yes.
Wow.
After I escaped and and he actually got evicted, they told me that the boards had like stay away, get out. He had like wrote things to these people who were out there trying to terrorize us.
But those were all imaginary people.
All imaginary, yes.
Okay.
He would show up unannounced, which made my escape even more scary, to try to catch me with somebody.
Yeah.
He would block in the door. The garage door was a lot of times blocked in by just stuff.
Okay.
So that I couldn't get out. And then he would have a chair and he'd put these huge weights on it so I couldn't escape. But for him, in his mind, on top of accusing me of cheating, he would also say, they're trying to come in, they're trying to get us, that kind of thing.
So he was either trying to keep you in or trying to keep something else out. But
Correct.
One way or another, there wasn't anything going back and forth.
Not a thing. And
Right.
for me to keep my sanity in all of that is only God.
Oh my goodness.
On top of that, verbal abuse. You're lying, you're cheating. He used to always say you're an Eve but the apple, you're a Jezebel. He would use all these like religious innuendos. You can't tell me anything. I'm the man. I know what's best. Other times too, he would accuse me. You did this to me, because I'm like, you're not making sense. And he would say, I did it to him and I'm not praying enough for him. And I mean, all kinds of guilt, manipulation. And there was such a shame even for myself that when you're being accused, it's like, did I do something wrong?
Right.
But also I was just like I said, kind of religiously abused. And then, verbally abused in general, always called out in my name, always being told I was hated, always being told I wasn't enough, always being accused of stuff that I never did. Even when I was teaching the kids in China, which was a virtual thing, he would sometimes get up early in the morning or not go to sleep. Sometimes he'd be up for days, which would make the hallucinations worse.
Right? That would
yes.
Exactly.
And he would literally stand while I'm teaching, and I'd be there. Hi, ABC 1, 2, 3, teaching these kids in China English. It was an immersion program, so I didn't need to know China, but it would be like, here's an apple, and I'd have to teach them. And he'd be like, I know you're talking to some guy there. He would unplug the internet, which would affect my reputation. He would actually call me while clients, very few times I'd be able to go see my clients. And he would call me while I'm there, just constantly being attacked. That was my life 24/7. And my clients had no idea. I held it together. I knew how to play the role. I knew how to smile if we were out. The level of integrity I had to have in that environment professionally exceeds people who, just are tired, a little tired. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. For me, I was completely sleep deprived and pregnant with little ones, having to teach and provide excellent services financially so that my kids could survive and have no idea what's going on. Yeah. Thank God they were so young and oblivious. Mm-hmm. And my clients, I could keep it because I was also financially abused. Money would be stolen. We've been evicted. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
The things that I covered.
Yes.
He would write checks in our name. We had a home health care business, and he would write checks in my name. I was only one on the account. I'd have to put up safety measures to try to protect our money and our staff at that time. We didn't have kids at that time. Yeah. But for years, even prior to that, the amount of money that was taken from me. This is why I like working in the financial industry, and I love managing people's books. I will flag anything because of the element of financial abuse that can happen. And so even then, when I was in that 5 years ago with the kids, our electric would be turned off, and I would try to work more and get more clients, and it would go to his addiction or go to whatever he wanted. And sometimes even go to other people so we could look good. Oh, I helped this person pay this, but he wasn't taking care of us. People, oh, your husband's so great. He helped me with this. How do you know this is all God? I'm like, yes, isn't he so wonderful? I would play the role, the good Christian wife, while being tormented and while our bills weren't being taken care of. And while, I mean, our car got repoed. I mean, all kinds of stuff, financially, verbally, mentally abused.
Yeah.
By the time it got physical, that was my turning point. 2 weeks after he put his hands on me, I knew my girls are going to think this is normal. I never was around any kind of abuse or drugs, so I didn't really know what it looked like.
Yeah.
I called the helpline and they said, look, it may be drugs, but it sounds like it might be a mental thing.
Yes.
He might be dealing with schizophrenia and bipolar, not talked about enough in the church. I'm
Sure.
like, okay, I don't know what this is, but I believe you. When he put his hands on me, I called the police. They said, well, do you have a car? I didn't have transportation. This is after he left the next morning. And I think it was a Saturday. And they were like, well,
he
you got
was
to call on
still
Monday.
working? He was
Yes,
still
he
working?
was still
Okay.
working, yes.
Okay.
But I would not see the money most of the time. But
Okay.
see, because he had cameras on me, I would hear him chime in random times. He would pop up random times and what's going on at home? It was very bizarre. So yeah, he would work, but financially, a lot of times I wouldn't see that money. The landlord, I'd pay my half and I'm like, he's responsible for his. But yeah, next thing I know, the electric's off or whatever. I mean, I could go on and on. It was chaos, Lisa, on so many levels. But what I was saying is when I called the police, this needs to be fixed because the police was like, we could send a officer to you since you can't get to us. Well, no, I've got cameras on me. I can have a police, so I can't even make a statement.
Right.
I would have to either go in or they'd have to come to me, but that at this point could cost me my life. So after he put his hands on me, that 2-week window, I told him, mind you, I'm pregnant, with little ones. And I was like, I don't feel safe. And I asked him to put the mattress in the office. I was like, I'm not sharing a room with you. He couldn't care less. I was sleeping on a mattress those 2 weeks before leaving.
Oh, and being that pregnant.
Being pregnant. Yes. She was due in August, but at least 4 or 5 months pregnant.
So was he physically hurting you while you were pregnant also?
That's when 2 weeks in, he had done it earlier in our relationship. And by the grace of God, it had stopped. And, it's almost like they make you feel guilty. But yeah, he started to get physical with me 2 weeks out. And for me, it was like, never again. They say, if you fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, shame on me. I told myself, if he ever puts his hands on me again, I'm leaving. But it got to the point of one night he was hallucinating really bad. We had neighbors, they were having some kind of party. And I'm on the mattress holding my baby. And I hear him screaming, you're cheating on me. You're saying stuff. He would hear things. He was accusing me of saying stuff to the neighbors. Lisa, this man, I didn't know he had a gun in the house, but I'm sitting on the mattress, holding my baby, literally ready to die. He's screaming and fully convinced that I'm teleporting or speaking to the neighbors. And he's going around hallucinating and yelling and screaming.
Oh my goodness.
And he comes out, he's outside of my door and I hear a gun cock. And I'm like, this is it. In the 2-week window. And I'm like, what happens in the movies when somebody knows they're going to die? And, they pray. So I'm literally there with my baby saying my last prayer, not knowing if a gunshot's going to come through that door. And knowing the scariest thing, Lisa, was I'm like, he might not even remember it.
Right. Yeah, because he was so messed up in his mind and his thinking. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
So not only the shock of a gun cocking, but being yelled at and accused at. And me, a wife, pretty much he threw on a mattress. And I remember praying over the baby. No, we'll be okay because I've been through child losses before. God used all things for my good, but knowing, just praying to God, like, God, I did the best I could as a wife, praying that somebody, because I covered him, I didn't tell anyone what was happening. And so in that moment, I felt bad that I wasn't honest enough with my family. And I didn't want me to pass and then be like, why didn't she tell me?
Right. Why didn't she tell me something was happening? Yeah.
And imagining the guilt that they would go through and friends and stuff that checked in on me. And I just kind of played the role. Oh, we're fine. He's great. Business is great. I'm so glad I have these kids. I mean, all this went into my head, like I might die and they might feel bad. because I thought it was the right thing to cover my husband and not tell them. I didn't want them to live with that guilt. So I prayed over that. Please let them not feel guilty for me not being honest about my situation. You don't know what you think about. I didn't even know I was feeling that until that moment.
Right.
Please let my kids know, that I love them, and please keep them safe.
Yeah.
Because a lot of murder suicides happen too. I don't know if it could have been me, because he was so paranoid. People don't talk about this enough. You hear it here and there in the news, but some people are so paranoid, they think they're saving themselves by killing them, the wife, the kids, themselves. It's crazy, Lisa.
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, I don't know what happened, but I didn't get shot. I heard the gun. I knew he was right outside. I was ready to die, pregnant. I prayed over myself, literally total peace. I was like, all I can do is accept it. But I did pray over my family and those that leave behind. This is the stage that I'm setting before, my anniversary, which was today, of me literally escaping. 2 weeks prior, all this, and it was only getting worse.
Yes.
All this stuff was happening in my home. Now he's getting physical with me.
Yeah.
Now there's a weapon in the house.
Yeah.
He's out of his mind.
In that moment when you were on that mattress and you heard that gun cock, where were your other two little ones?
They were in their room.
In their room.
So the rooms were not connected, next to each other.
Sure.
Probably literally playing. Come on, 10 months and 2 years old.
Right.
Totally oblivious, had no idea what was going on. And they still don't, to be honest.
Yeah.
They still really don't. But that was a motivation for me. I did not go through all this fertility issue and everything. And I knew God loved me. This wasn't a punishment. It was, let me show you in every way possible why I need to love you out of this. Yeah. You've prayed, you've fasted, you've interceded. He's not free, and you've got to get free. And so all of that led up to me sitting with my doctor, crying, and him providing a way of escape. Mm-hmm.
Right. Wow. Okay. So
I'm laughing because God is so good.
God is so good. Agreed that he got you out of there. Okay. So tell us a little bit about, how did you actually leave with boards over the doors and barriers behind the car or in the garage? How did you actually grab those three? Well, the two and the one on the way. How did you grab those babies and get out of that situation?
Yeah. I so appreciate you letting me reflect. So the chair and I might pray through this, but I know it's okay.
That's okay.
And the weights that he would put in, he used to yell at me and be like, there's no way you can move this because you're pregnant. I know you had some man here, He can tell me the neighbors had cameras and they saw somebody coming in. None of it the truth. But that day, I don't think he barricaded the door that day.
Okay.
But the night before, a friend of mine had told me, don't try to overplan this, just get out. So I told her, look, this was the day before I escaped. She had said, wake up like it's a regular day. Talk about dinner, talk to him normal. And she said, you won't have a lot of time because he has cameras on you. She said, unplug whatever cameras you have and only grab the essentials, birth certificates, passports, IDs. And I was like, I had one of my clients' laptops, grab their laptop, and I needed my means to make money. So for me, I didn't grab a lot of clothes, but I had a window. I made sure I checked in with him, which I never did, but I checked in, hey, how's your day going? Just to get a feel for if he was close or not.
Yeah, and how his mental state was.
Yes, for sure. But that morning, he was a little bit more balanced. So yeah, what do you want and the last conversation, what do you want for dinner? I would love to cook you something that was kind of out of character. But when you're that sleep deprived and survival mode and you never escaped anything, I didn't know what to do. Sure. But to the person who's in that situation, for me, I knew I had a window. So I woke up knowing it was a God thing, played the role, acted like everything was normal. And I had kind of this checklist in my mind of grab the essentials for the girls. All I could do was have my laptop, 2 laptops, literally. a diaper bag. I had a double stroller. And yeah, it was like around 10. Once I checked in with him, I coordinated with a friend of mine from old church who I was allowed to go out with one day, like the month prior, and he knew where I was. And the same day that I called for my OBGYN, I said, look, I'm getting out. I'm at my OBGYN, can you help me? She had something extremely important that day, but she carved out time to come. She could only do so much. And so the plan was I grab the essentials, I get my laptop, I get my client's laptop, I fill as much as I can in a diaper bag. Thank God it's onesies and, there's a lot that can fit. Yes.
Yeah.
So I have my diaper bag. I stuff everything in the double stroller, put the 2 kids in there. Like you said, I'm pregnant. I'm carrying 2 heavy laptops and I have the diaper bag on the bottom.
Wow.
Terrified. So I'm shaking and I'm like, it's go time. I hang up the phone with him and I unplug everything. I grab everything. I knocked over a lamp on accident. It breaks. I'm like, I don't care.
I'm out of here.
My window. Yes. And I had to coordinate with her. This is the time I think it could happen. Before that morning, I put a bunch of clothes in a garbage bag and I bring it out to the garbage. Mind you, that was the wisdom of my sister.
Nice.
I take it out like it's garbage and I put it on the corner, 2 garbage bags. She comes earlier that morning, picks up the garbage. So she picks it up. So she has it. And then for me, it's a matter of me just getting out. And he doesn't even know how it went down. I grab all the stuff. I'm shaking. I'm trembling. And I kid you not, Lisa, and I shared this with you earlier. I walk out with my double stroller, my livelihood, my skill, my business, walk out. And I remember closing the door because God had promised me something better.
Yeah.
He promised me more. And there's maybe people out there that don't realize abuse, verbal, emotional, financial, physical, any kind of domestic violence situation. Even there was a time that he would break the wall, punch the wall in, or throw things at the wall. Even if they're not touching you, it's still an intimidating factor in order to keep you shut and to keep you in fear.
It's trauma. It is just trauma, right?
Yes. So yeah, I walked out and I remember closing the door like, God, you better be right, but I know you love me. And I mean, terrified. And then, come on, when you're pregnant, it's a whole nother level of feelings that you have.
Well, yeah, all the hormones and everything, making all the emotions heightened, but you had really good reason to be terrified.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I remember closing the door, holding on to the one promise. 2 things, the feeling that I knew God loved me through this. I knew, you grow up, divorce is a sin and all that stuff, but when it's dire, trusting that he wanted me out and he loved me enough to get me out of it. But 2, knowing that there was something more ahead, the hope of glory, the hope of more. Yeah. And so, yeah, I remember closing that, locking it too. I didn't have the keys. I had to take out my SIM card so he couldn't track me.
Yes.
And walking out. And so what happened though was my friend wasn't ready yet. We're trying to coordinate. And I was like, I'm going to go act like I'm going for a walk. So I
You couldn't exactly text her and tell her because your husband was watching everything.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, you had to disconnect the phone from the internet.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So were you able to go for a walk ever? Or
I acted like here and there. It would depend on his temperament. And anyone who's in an abusive situation, sometimes they're normal, sometimes they're not. So it was
you just never knew what you're going to get.
But if I did, for the sake of my sanity, I love going. Who doesn't like fresh air and stuff like that?
Yes.
And being in Texas, it's nice and warm. So yeah, going for walks wasn't abnormal, depending on his temperament. And I wasn't like to ask for permission. I could only go so far. Yeah. So yeah, I act like I was going out for a walk, even to not alert the neighbors. Because I found out later he terrorized them, accused them of cheating with me, accused them of doing stuff accused them of helping me get out. Yes. And so, I act like I was going for a walk and I just walked until she was able to coordinate with me. And I jumped in the car. She brought her car seats and she took me up to the certain point of where she needed to go. But, and then I caught a lift, but, there's so much more to the story, but I just remember never being so scared in my life. because there was a point I got stuck and it was like, do I call him and do I go back? Or do I figure it out? Because I didn't have transportation. Now I had these 2 garbage bags. I was at Enterprise, had 2 garbage bags of clothes and items that I needed, 2 laptops, 2 kids, a baby, and a diaper bag.
Oh my.
And I didn't have a credit card to get a car. My plan was to just get a car and go until I could meet my parents. So I had to pivot. And that's so important to where it was kind of like, God, what do I do?
Yeah. He was the only thing you really could count on in that moment.
Literally, yes. And so I'm outside of in downtown Austin, outside of Enterprise. They can't help me because I don't have a credit card. And yeah, it was like, do I go back? If I go back, I'll either die or be chained to something. I knew it was probably going to be that bad.
Wow.
You know, like, how dare you try to escape?
Yes.
Because he thought he owned me.
Yeah.
So I ended up having enough to get a hotel. This is a whole nother thing, if you don't mind me going into it.
Please do. No, we just got as much time as you need.
Okay, thank you. So what happened was, now I'm at a turning point. I could go back and possibly be on lockdown for the rest of my life in unhumane ways.
Yes.
It was already inhumane, but at another level.
Yeah.
Or I could figure something. So I call my dad, and my dad's like, if you could get a hotel, I could get out there. Mind you, he had to drive 20 something hours from Illinois to get me, but he's like, I can't leave. I think he was at work. I could get out to you, in a day.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask, if you had family, but they were just states and states away. So they weren't right nearby.
States, no. And that's the biggest thing people need to realize. Isolation is everything for the enemy and for abusers.
Yes.
They will subtly convince you that people don't have your best interests at heart, just very subtly. Let somebody make a mistake or not call you. See, they don't care about you, and they try to control.
You're all alone. I'm all you can count on.
Exactly. The goal was get a car, get a burner phone, ironically, and drive away. Just get away and we'll figure out the West. Like I said, one thing at a time. Sometimes you can't have it all planned out.
Right.
For me, I didn't have the resources. He limited me financially. Even when I had money, the bill didn't get paid. So somebody's got to pay. He would set me up in situations.
Yeah.
I'd be hungry. I'd just be hungry. My kids would be hungry. So it's like this money, I had no room to save. So it'd be like, okay, I got to buy food for us. So anyway, yes, I'm at this weird turning point. What do I do? Do I go back or do I push forward? And there was a book called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And he had talked about a situation with his mom. I was listening to it actually on walks, and he talked about his mom being in a situation, escaping a bad abusive situation.
Wow.
And I reflected on that. Wait, somebody else has been here. Yeah. I've got to make a decision. So my decision was, Lord, please let this man not be tracking me. Please let him be busy. I had to turn back on my phone, hook back on a SIM card, and call a Lyft and have them take me somewhere. So I call a hotel because my dad can't just up and leave. He's too far away.
Yeah.
And I needed somewhere to go. I've got garbage bags. I kid you not, the whole time oblivious.
My mom is panicking like at a 10 plus. Oh my goodness.
Literally. And so I'm like, okay, this has happened before. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get it a hotel. So I call a certain hotel far enough away, at least an hour and a half away. And I'm like, do you have rooms? Can you help me? And at first he said no. And then he was like, well, we do have one. Don't know why he lied. When I got there, the place was empty. But anyway, I call and I turn my phone on to get to the lift, and I'm just watching. I'm like, please, Lord, please cover me. So nervous, right? So this guy doesn't speak a lot of English. Lift guy comes. And mind you, also I have car seats with me, right? So we've got to install car seats in the lift. I thought I was going to get a rental. No, I've got to install car seats now, garbage bags, laptops, break down, mind you, my pregnant self with 2 little ones, a double stroller, get it into this lift. It can't be a car lift. It's got to,
like a Suburban. You needed something like a bus.
Literally. Here we go, right?
Gosh.
I'm not going back by any means.
Yes.
So this guy, and I'm trying to say bad situation, getting out, please don't judge me. He didn't know the language, but he had compassion on me. I could tell he was like,
she needs help.
Yes, she needs help.
You need help. Yeah.
Woo. This man doesn't even know he saved my life. Because I could have went back, or I could have kept going.
Yeah. Like if he had somehow said, I can't handle all this
This is too
stuff.
much. Yeah. Car seats in my car. He helped me install everything.
Oh my goodness. What an angel. Just when you needed it.
Yeah. Ah. Thank you for letting me reflect.
This is important.
So even Lyft drivers, you don't know what you're saving somebody from.
Yeah, right.
But for me, I was terrified because I had to keep the app on, which means my location's being dinged. You know, they track in Lyft, they have to track you. I had to turn on my location services and all of that.
Oh my goodness. Right. So at
Oh,
that,
yeah. Yeah.
and
So
your ex had tracked you so closely that it was
yes.
almost expected that you're waiting any moment for him to
Yes.
text you or call or something.
Yes.
Got
But
it.
I really feel like because I had checked in, which I don't normally do, and I was so sweet that morning, you know, and let me know I'll order groceries. I couldn't go anywhere. So, you know, let's do something fun. So God really covered me.
Mhm.
So we're driving, and I just pick up what I thought was a random hotel. We get there, and the guy unloads my garbage bags and helps me with the
Lyft guys again?
yes,
God
with, you
bless
know,
him.
he undoes, mind you, I'm not only 2 laptops, 2 car seats, 2 garbage bags, double
pregnant.
stroller, and pregnant. So listen, so I kind of have a low tolerance for people with victim mentalities. Like, no, figure it out. If you really want to succeed, you've got to figure it out.
Exactly.
I've been, you know, I've done it.
Yes.
So anyway, he picks up all this stuff that I have, right? Literally, that's all I have to my name,
Yeah,
my whole
that was your
life.
life.
And not even so much of it I had to leave behind.
Sure.
Everything I had to leave behind besides what could fit in that bag. And most of it was for my kids.
Yeah.
And so we get to the hotel and I walk in and now I'm able to talk. When you're in these situations, people silence you. And so, and I've kind of been silent for the past 5 years, just trying to work through my own stuff, even being intimidated. Because that's the other thing, they intimidate you to not talk about it.
Yes.
So I get to the hotel and I'm talking to the guy and I'm like, are you the one I talked to on the phone? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, look, I'm escaping a bad situation. And I'm like, I've got my kids. You see, I'm pregnant. I'm being tracked. I'm turning off my phone now, but I need you to help me. And he's like, I'll put you in a different name. And I'll cover you.
Wow.
What's the guy's name? He went into straight protector mode.
Wow.
He gets me into the room, make sure I'm okay. He's like, you're not the only one. I'm seeing other situations like this. Yeah.
Wow.
He said, there's a red button on, you know, like the hotel, there's always a red button. Didn't know what it was for. He said, if he contacts you, you call this red button, it'll alert 911.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, yeah. And so,
oh my goodness. What a privilege.
So yeah, I know. Mind you, initially on the phone, he's like, we don't have any space, whatever. No, it worked. And so, yeah, he owned it. I should probably reach out. I don't know if he's still there, but he was like I don't know if he owned it, but he was the manager. Set me up. He didn't have a crib for the girls because they're babies. One could roll. And so I had to make this little cot thing of blankets on the floor in between the bed so that they could sleep. And I get up there and I let my dad know. So my phone is on and off a lot. I turn it off and then I turn it on, just for safekeeping. Yes. So I get there and I call my dad and I'm like, I made it to the hotel. Like I said, just one step at a time. Make it to the hotel, get the girls situated. They're still so oblivious to what's going on, by the grace of God. And then we have a scare. And so the manager knocks on my door and he's like, I think he found you. And I'm like, what? Why? And he's like, did you use a card that you guys share for an account or anything? And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, a man called asking for you. And I was like, what did he sound like? And it turned out it was my dad. And I was like, okay, I know. But the beautiful thing is this man was fully invested, this manager. Yes.
Protecting
and so he was
you
like,
and looking out for you.
We have to put you in another room or, he had this game plan for me. And I was like, no, that's my dad. So he was almost like screening my calls. And I don't know if that's how it works. I don't know. But yeah, I'm like, we're good. So I called my dad. I'm like, this is my hotel. Now I can turn off my phone. Mind you, so I found out he was tracking me through my Gmail. Oh, plot twist. When I had my 10-month-old 10 months prior, I thought I had lost my phone. He stole it. Mind you, just given birth, they were transferring us from the delivery room.
Okay.
Because I'm like, how is he tracking me? He had access to my Gmail location services. I found out while he was having a manic episode, you thought you lost your phone. I have your phone. That's how I'm able to track you. So I had to get a new phone. But his method of trying to track me was when I was at my most vulnerable point, just had a baby, he was tracking me through Google. So I get to the hotel and I've got to change all my Google passwords now.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, everything. You know, very complicated passwords because I still need access to that. That's how my clients had access to me.
Sure.
You know, now I could change it on my phone, but I needed a safe space to do that. So I'm turning my phone on and off, but I was like, wait, I could change all of this because now he can't access my email because the password has changed. The length that some people go to try to control and hold you up.
Yeah.
So my dad and my mom jumped from Illinois and drive a good 20 hours, fresh out of work, with their car to come get me. No plan, mind you. All I knew was I called them from the OBGYN 2 days ago saying I'm leaving. Now they have to be a part of the escape, but they needed time. So yeah, my parents, it took all day. It takes at least 18 hours nonstop to get from Illinois to Texas. The whole time he's terrorizing my dad. Where's my wife? You can't take my, terrorizing my dad. Now my dad's in a different kind of fear state because now he's threatening people that he knows, and he knows people from gangs and
mafia. So at that point, your ex, when was the first time you realized your ex knew that you left?
My dad had to tell me. Yeah, because I cut off all contact pretty much from everybody. My phone was off a lot. And now, my dad is on his way. And oh, by the way, your ex is calling me like crazy.
So you never got any texts or calls for yourself from your ex, even though you were
No, I didn't. I'm sure I probably blocked him by default.
Got it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, makes sense.
But I
totally.
wasn't checking my phone, honestly.
Okay.
It was cut off all contact by any means necessary.
Yes. Okay. So now your dad was the target.
Yes, my dad was the target. So he's driving to me, being terrorized by my ex. My ex can't track my dad, and I wasn't in the area anymore. And so, my dad's like, he's calling the police. He's going to try to issue an Amber Alert saying that you stole the kids. And so, yes, it's crazy. I cannot believe I'm talking about this because this was 5 years ago.
And in some respects, it feels like yesterday. And part of it probably feels like it was yesterday. Part of it feels like it was a whole nother lifetime.
Literally that another life until I feel it, until I feel the emotion behind it. So he's terrorizing my dad. The hotel people have people on watch for me. They ask for pictures of my ex. Okay, we'll monitor, just like full on team of strangers and family. Wow. So he gets here by the evening. I feel it. I feel like I'm there. I'm like, he gets here because it felt that real.
This is your dad. Your dad gets
my dad
the hotel.
And my mom. Okay. Yes. And he's terrorizing me. He's calling the police. He's saying you left with some abusive guy. He's telling the police now that he's scared for my life because it looks like I was stolen. Mind you, I said I dropped a layup and it broke. So he's making up all this stuff to try to find me and get me back.
Right.
And so, he's telling the police I left with an abusive guy and he's concerned for me and my kids. And can they help? Can they issue a Amber Alert and all these things? Just setting up this whole field so that the police can find me.
Right. I just, isn't it strange? I mean, for just a quick moment, how do the police discern truth?
I will get to that. Yeah.
I know,
and I know I'm scared because I'm like, wait, they might believe him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I was in such a state of fear because I was scared for my life. I was scared of all the things he accused me of. Right. And then I was scared of him, and what people might believe because he could be very charming, very convincing, all of that.
Yeah.
So now I'm like
different personality depending on where the chemical balance was in his brain.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. He could seem extremely sane and harmless.
Sure.
So my dad gets there and now my dad is kind of in a state of fear and terror. It's nighttime and he's like, we got to go. They were supposed to come at least get some rest for the night. No. And mind you, my parents are in their 60s. And so, okay, no rest. We jump in the car that night, get everything in there. And he has a small SUV. I think I was sitting like between one of the car seats. There wasn't enough room. Well, me, my pregnant self, and 2 car seats in a very compact.
Plus the garbage bags and your mom and your dad.
Yes. And we head north. And so we drive. Both of my parents haven't slept. They're in a state of emergency for their daughter. And so we make the Dallas, which is about 3 hours north. And for the first time, my dad's like, I'm tired. We go to a motel. My kids pop up like it's nothing. And we all go get a power nap. So it's so crazy. They're literally my tribe and my most happy place. I'm so proud of them. It's because of them, but I just love the way the guy covered them. So we're like, hey, we're stopping at a motel. No questions. They're like, oh, we're going on a trip, So we do a power nap, maybe 3 hours. And my dad's like, we gotta go. So, we don't know if the police are looking for us. Mind you, I'm escaping, but I'm feeling like I'm the one doing something wrong. My dad is feeling like, Right. So he's like, tell my dad,
the criminal here when you're actually the victim trying to get safe.
Literally. So he's like, I need to see a picture. How do I know? So my dad tells him, I don't know if he knows what to do. Lets him know they're with me, they're safe. Well, I need proof. All manipulation. So I'm like, why'd you tell him that I'm with you? But I think when he's in a manic state, like even my landlord said he'd called him 72 times one day.
Oh my gosh.
When they're manic and really out of it, it's a constant. They just keep going and going. So my dad sends him a picture of the kids in the back. And he's like, who's that guy in the picture? And so he seems stuff still and accusing my dad of all this stuff. We get to my parents' house. I have to teach that next morning.
Oh my gosh. So did your ex know where your parents lived?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We'd been married for almost a decade by that time. And we stayed with them a couple of times. Yeah.
Okay.
That was a problem. Yeah. So we get there. My body is like burning in exhaustion. I've got to teach kids, and it's videotaped in China. Like they record everything and they can't know that I just escaped something. I'm in there, hi, ABC, I can't cancel because now I need money. Yes. Right. My livelihood is now teaching these kids on top of my business. It was like a little bit of both, but now I know where the money is going. Yes. And so I get up, teach the kids. That night, it was pouring rain, and we have like lights flashing from the police banging on our door.
It's on your parents' door?
Parents' door.
Okay.
We've been told that your kids are in danger. And when kids are involved, the police have to do a wellness check. This is literally my ex trying to find me and see where I'm at. He painted this picture that they're in danger. I left with this abusive guy. He's scared for us, all of this. So we barely sleep that night. That morning, they come back.
The police
boom, 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 boom. Yes. And I'm like, I'm terrified. I don't know if I did something wrong. I don't know, And so when you've been manipulated to always feel guilty and always feel like you've done something wrong, it's hard to even decipher, Lisa.
Yes, yeah, it's hard to figure out who's the good guy, the bad guy.
Are they there to save me or to take me and my kids? I don't know. So I talked to a shelter place because I need to find a place to go because now he kind of knows where I'm at. He's terrorizing my family and I want to feel safe. So I'm calling helplines and I call a friend of mine who's a therapist who was the one who kind of told me how to what to get and leave the rest,
Yeah.
So I'm like, what do I do? She said, talk to the police, tell them what happened. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know who to trust, Lisa. First of all, he's always convinced me that I can't trust anybody and he's the only person I can trust. Now I'm stepping outside of the world of all things him. And now I don't even know if I can trust the police. I don't know how helpful they could be. Lisa. So we go to the police department and I make an appointment. I was like, I need to make a statement. And so my mom's in the car with my babies because they're tiny and I didn't want to bring them in. And I'm like, I sit to meet with an officer and I'm like, look, I just escaped. I was on lockdown. And I tell them everything. And they were like, we hear of this a lot and a lot of people don't get out. Unfortunately, there's many people like you who are on lockdown, can't leave their home. We're glad you're safe. We'll let the police department in Texas know that you're safe. We'll let them know your story. They took a full report. They went out, checked on the kids. saw that the kids were healthy. My mom turned into Mama Bear and was like, yeah, he would put these boulders in front of the door. Da, 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 da. One time when they came out there, he was like, oh, this is just a safety measure that I do. So my mom had seen it. And at that time, the boards weren't there. She just was like, okay, that's just something he does at night, whatever. So now she knows the truth. So she's telling them what she's witnessed. And yeah, so now they step back. But here's the thing. They said because kids are involved, every time he calls, they still have to report it because he's reporting that the kids are in danger. They said, but just so you know, we may still have to do wellness checks because of your kids. And I'm like, how twisted is that?
I know.
So now I'm trying to get into a shelter. Turns out with the shelter, the field that I was in with the VIP kid, everything's recorded. Well, I can't have things recorded if I'm in a shelter for the safety of everyone else. Okay. Now I also have checks of my clients who I did payroll for. Well, do I bring their personal financial stuff into a shelter? Is that the most ethical thing to do? I know what it's like to be stolen from. A lot of businesses have, unfortunately. So now I'm like, I can't go to a shelter. What am I going to do? So the good thing is I had a brother an hour away in Milwaukee, ended up staying with him, talked to a lawyer. So they said because I was married legally, I can't just leave the state. Because I'm like, do I stay? Do I come home? It was snowing. I was like, I do not want to be out. I want to be back into this.
Right.
It was March. No, April probably by that time. I'm like, why is it snowing?
Yeah,
like,
it does that.
Blizzard, which is random. Like, why is it snowing right now? But it was a random snowstorm. And I'm calling the police. I'm still teaching at this time. At this time, I call my clients, hey, this is what's really been going on. Lisa, mind blown. You've been going through what? For how long? How have you been doing so well? How have you, could not believe I was operating at the level I was professionally. Completely sleep deprived for years. Yeah. Completely sleep deprived. And so talked to free lawyers that help with domestic abusive situations. And they were like, yeah, you got to bring the kids home. Yeah, legally, I cannot leave the state with the kids. But they gave me a game plan. They set me up with a consult and gave me this game plan. The sad thing is the state is bombarded with so many people in these situations. They don't have enough space and lawyer representation to help people like me. Sure. So I'm still teaching, just trying to save up enough money. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm still out here. I need some money so I can make a living and have some kind of security deposit because now I need to provide a place for my kid. With financial abuse, though, we had gotten a notice. I had given him my ring. I was like, I don't have any money. He always came to me for money. But This is how abusive people, especially financially, will try to set you up to fail. I gave him my wedding ring to pawn to make sure. I was like, we cannot get evicted. Gave him my wedding ring. Please pawn this. We cannot get an eviction. At this time, I was pregnant with one child. And I had a child. So I had a 1-year-old and I was pregnant at the time. Now I got to find a place with an eviction on my record.
Right.
Without him. Yeah. So now I have less income and he set me up to fail. He set me up to literally be only able to depend on him. We're going to have to stay at this house because we can't get anything else. We rented it for rent by own at the time. But I was like, it happens more times than not. But people in controlling and abusive situations will be set up to either have a whole lot of babies or, not be able to work or not have a skill or not have the financial means or have things on their record that will prevent them. Even if they try to leave, that could have been my thing. Even if I try to leave, I can't because I've got this thing on my record. And because we're married, I can't stay with family.
Right. So whether true or perceived, your ex was making you believe that he was the only one that could give you a life, that he was the only one that could give you a safe space for your kids, even though it wasn't a safe space. And he was creating that perceived dependence constantly through every means he could.
Every means possible.
Okay.
But not being able to financially provide is an easy mean for anybody, or not having a skill.
Yeah. It's like, I can't leave because I couldn't pay for stuff. It's the risk, especially as a mom. We've got 2.5 little ones, 2 and 1 on the way. Yeah. Okay. So you're in Michigan and it's snowing. And
Wisconsin,
Wisconsin.
Yes. You're okay. Milwaukee, I probably said.
Milwaukee, that's what it was,
Yes, Wisconsin, it's snowing and I'm hustling. Still sleep deprived. Called all my clients, hey, we're going to have to do things remotely for a while. And I only had a few at the time. And then I would teach the kids. So I would double up on classes and try to take as much as possible and just literally save. So I call a couple of places that I think I could afford in Texas because now I know I got to go back. And they're like, it's going to be kind of the more shadier ones that aren't going to do a background, so you don't know who you're going to be living with. I'm like, Lord, I don't want to live in a place where I don't feel safe. I just came out of unsafe.
Right. Yeah.
So then I start looking at Airbnbs. And so I find an Airbnb. Oh, I'm sorry. On top of that, because I know I have to go back, I start flying back every 2 weeks to do my clients' payroll, interview clients, and then come back.
Oh
I leave my kid. Yes. How
so
can I
who's
forget
watching
that?
your kiddos while you were flying?
My family's watching my kids.
Got it.
Usually within a 24-hour span. I fly out to Texas. I'm interviewing with people, hiding my pregnancy, processing payroll for my clients. I told them, I'm like, look, I still got you. Don't worry about me. Because they were like, well, how are you going to do payroll? Because I would go to their office and print everything out.
I see.
Literally figuring it out day by day.
Yeah.
I would get these really cheap flights where you can't take any luggage. It would be so I'd have a laptop in my backpack, a change of clothes, fly out to my clients. I had an office at one of my clients'. I can't believe I did all this. Clients' locations.
Yeah.
I'd keep toiletries there.
Okay.
Because I'm like, this is less I got to carry my pregnant self. And then I would interview clients.
And you're flying, you've got to be like 7 months at this point.
No, it was March and I stayed until June 9th, almost exactly.
Okay.
April, May, June. So I stayed for 3 months. Yeah, June I was about 8 months at a time because July, August. Yeah.
Yeah, most
So
people,
now
most people don't fly when they're that pregnant, right?
That's not even a half.
Wow.
So I'm flying back and forth, pregnant, trying to build my business.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I cannot believe I did this. I literally don't even reflect about it.
Yeah. This is why today is important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I took care of I would take care of their payroll and then go to now I'm in third trimester. Every 2 weeks, I got to go to OBGYN because I'm high risk. The very first time I saw my doctor, she's like, you're flying in, mind you, like I said. And then because I'd have to get back because I'd have to teach as well. I would fly out that night. A lot of times, not in that evening. I would fly out like in the morning and then be back by the next morning. I'm teaching kids from Airbnbs, renting out rooms for $30 a day. I would shake hands with potential clients. I would do Zoom interviews. I went to my OBGYN the first 2 weeks for my appointment and the 2 weeks after I escaped so I could do payroll for my clients. And she's like, you did it? She could not believe that I did it. She was like, most people tell to escape and they can't, or they end up going back, or it doesn't work out. She was like, I'm so proud of you. But she's like, Lillia, you were able to do it because you had a skill. And that really was it. I had a skill that could make me money. And I know all things entrepreneurship. I had a home healthcare before. But she said most people, the financial piece, they have to go back because they have no way to pay for anything.
Yeah.
So she was so proud of me. But yeah, she said, you realize that you had a skill. And that's why my business is called Skillia Business Solutions. It rhymes with my name, Lillia Skillia. But it was that one thing that God awarded me with to survive.
Yes. So God had given Lillia an opportunity to survive by giving her the skills that she needed to be able to make money so she could pay her bills and support her family. So she had an avenue to be able to leave this really dangerous situation she was in. I praise God for her and on her behalf that she had this skill. And I hope you'll come back and listen to the second half next week, where we talk about the rest of this beautiful story of how Lillia and her family got free and how she started building this next chapter of her life in such a beautiful way. So thank you for listening today and joining us here at the Sunshine Cafe. And I hope you come back next week to hear the second part of Lilla Sanders' story. God bless and have a great week.